All right, Steelers fans and Yins No Ball listeners, Eagles fans, if you're here to check out my thoughts on Lane Johnson, we're going to look at this matchup between TJ Watt and Lane Johnson. Not often that you get to see this many true 1v1 reps between two of the greats all game long. Two of the best to ever do it, for surefire Hall of Famers, both of them. Lane Johnson, I don't know if you call him underrated at this point because he's been doing it for so long, but I'm not sure that he's talked about in tier 1 of tackles all time, and he should be. He is that good of a player. And Watt, obviously, his place in history is pretty etched just based on a lot of things, but obviously even for the people who don't watch tape, based on production, he'll finish his career as one of the best to ever do it from that standpoint. So thought it'd be cool to watch some of their 1v1 matchups because frankly, if you're a Steelers fan, not much about this game was that cool to break down. So I thought I'd focus on something that was actually a little bit fun for this video. And if you like videos like this, please subscribe. Audibles and Analytics Substack. I will probably be doing more of them, and most of them will be behind a paywall that you can only watch if you are a subscriber. It is $5 a month to subscribe or $50 for the year. That averages out to $4.17 a month. So basically like a Starbucks coffee, one of those, I guess, medium size. What do they call them? Ventis? Or I don't even know. I don't drink coffee, but you can spend that cost to get each month tons of content. If you're a Steelers fan, I do film notes, I do film breakdowns, I do written columns. I wrote a couple things last week on Arthur Smith and play sequencing and the usage of Pat Freiermuth improving. The Yins No Ball podcast, you get access to Ollie and I's NFL work that we podcast twice a week. That's like 4 hours plus of podcast content with us each week. So you get an insane amount for $5 a month or $4.17 a month if you subscribe for the whole year. So I don't know how long the price will continue to be that low if I'm putting out this much content, but for now that's what it is. So take advantage of it and subscribe, please, and you'll be able to see more of these film breakdowns. All right, let's get to the good stuff. You've got TJ Watt here, obviously, Lane Johnson here, and this was pretty much the battle all game long. I don't think the Steelers moved Watt even for one rep, certainly not on a passing down. Do they move him for any reps? I didn't check, but I don't think they moved him at all, as they usually do not. They've moved him a little bit more recently. It's gotten some people's hopes up, but those of us who have paid attention to this for years know better than to get our hopes up about that. And here you're going to see just a sequence of different rushes. I think there's 10 different reps in here, and this isn't all of them, but you're going to see a good bit of these two players and their skill set and how they attack each other and what the plan of attack was and how it changed throughout the game. So first play of the game, it's 1st and 10. Watt is probably not necessarily thinking obvious passing down, so he's not like totally teeing off here. But then, gets into his bull rush. That really hasn't been effective for Watt all season. He has not been able to power through guys. Not really his calling card throughout his career. At times it's been like a go-to move for him, but it really hasn't been anything that he can do this year. And this was one of probably 4 reps in the game where he tried a power rush and Lane Johnson just kind of devoured it. Drops anchor. You can see Johnson's hips sort of drop right there, and there's just no chance Watt's not going to be able to affect that play. So Watt, when he feels like his initial rush isn't working, his go-to move is almost always to try and bat the ball down at the line of scrimmage, which has been very successful for him, or try to keep himself clean enough. Don't get so engaged that you end up on the ground. Keep yourself clean enough that you can retrace your steps. And he got maybe 2 pressures just retracing his steps and a sack, I think, in this game doing that. So that's that awareness and ability to keep yourself clean is why he's one of the best. But on this rep, definitely a win for Lane Johnson. The power is excellent that he has. He can drop anchor, and you're just never going to see Lane Johnson basically walk back into the quarterback. Now you're going to see Watt win a little bit on this rep. So Watt not even really he's in sort of a square stance here, not even really in a takeoff stance. He's expecting this chip from the tight end. He wants to have a strong base when it happens. He's thinking this could even be a rundown. I believe this is a first down too. But so he's not necessarily even thinking about teeing off. Rep is not about get off at all. But as the tight end releases, he gets his eyes back to the pocket. Okay, we're reading it out. It's a pass. And now he's going to go with, I call this the near chop. You'll see this called a cross chop. I like to just differentiate the terms because you can see he chops with his near hand, the one that's closer to Johnson, rather than the outside hand, which he does follow through and snatches that outside arm, as you can see. But I like to call it a near chop just so it differentiates, because some guys will go with the cross chop and chop with the outside hand. One of the benefits of that is that it helps your hips kind of naturally flip to the quarterback. One of the downsides of it is that it takes longer to get there because it's the outside hand as opposed to the inside. So it's a little bit easier for an offensive lineman to parry away. And sometimes it can Sometimes I'd say it because of the length of time it takes to get there, you don't have quite as much power behind it unless you hit it like square, and it's a lot harder to hit square. This near chop happens a lot quicker, and so as Johnson punches, Watt slaps down the arm, then look at the hip flip and the bend. This is what Watt's best at. Snatch the outside arm, rip through, and a great win. Ball comes out immediately, no chance to even get a pressure. But this is where I tweeted this out. TJ Watt leads the NFL this season in pass rush wins, 1v1 wins as a pass rusher that haven't resulted in pressures because he's not close enough to the quarterback when the ball is released. So there's no way you can get a pressure on a play where the ball comes out this quick unless he's unblocked. And TJ Watt's not going to be unblocked really. So he's doing everything he possibly can on this play, and he's able to impact he's not able to impact the play still though, even as a result, even though he individually is doing what he's supposed to do. So this is where PFF, I think, gets it right in a lot of these situations, because he would get a +2 grade probably for this play, and it would improve his overall grade, even if at the end of the day it doesn't count as a pressure per se. So the pressure rate's still going to stay the same, but there's a separate category that I don't know if it's on the public side of it yet, but that they keep track of that affects the grading in terms of wins that you have as a pass rusher. I believe he had 4 in this game, 4 of those wins that didn't turn into pressures, and then 5 pressures. And so this is where some of those charting nuances that they've created, stats they've created, are really helpful. Okay, so now we got a pass rush obvious situation, I believe here. I forget what down and distance it is. I should have written it down. That was dumb. But you're going to see obvious pass rush situation. Watt's going to get wider in his alignment in this spot, and he's going to take off, and he's going to try to win this edge. And really good job by Lane Johnson. So we saw Watt go with the near chop on the rep before. There's the rep before. We saw him go near chop, snatch the outside arm, pull himself through, and get clean. And he would have a great angle to finish if Hurts doesn't get this ball out immediately. So then the next play, you're going to see, watch Johnson get out of his stance. And I mean, he's basically, some would call this an overset, but he knows what Watt's doing. He's anticipating. He's able to get out here, get really good leverage underneath his pads there, and kind of pop him backwards. You can see Watt's body kind of recoil there. So just a great job adjusting his set, getting out further out there and taking away the edge. Watt loves to corner, and this isn't even a bad effort by Watt, but Johnson just anticipating what kind of rush Watt was going to go with, especially from that wider alignment. He knows that I'm willing to give up a little something inside because I believe that I have to sell out to stop this guy off the edge. So it's one of the things that Watt opens up, but he doesn't make that many inside moves. I've said that over the years. I wish he'd have more inside moves. But you can see Johnson going to get out there, push him wide, and they're able to get the ball out. Again, quick release. I don't know if Watt would have got there anyway, but still a good process by Lane Johnson. Here you've got Watt outside in this wider alignment here on another obvious pass. Now this is 3rd down, I believe. And I'm going to show this from the top angle so you can, because I'm going to talk about depth in the pocket. And a lot of people were like, oh, he beat Lane Johnson on some of these reps, and it's close, but I think you would see from this angle, Lane is still doing a lot of his job in these situations, and Watt is doing the best he possibly can, given the way he's attempting to rush, I would guess, in these situations. So I'll let the play run. You could see Watt doesn't actually get the best get off. He does beat him around the edge, but Lane is able to sort of recover here, and I'll show you what I mean by depth. So the ball's here. This is what the 18-yard line. And so check out where Hurts is then. When Watt corners, he's about, so this is what, the 27 yard line. And so he's about 9 yards deep when Watt's able to corner. So it's a good angle by Watt, but Johnson does enough here to stay on him. And I'll show you the pass rush move from the other angle when we get there. But this is incredible stuff by Johnson to be beaten here and still be able to get his hips around and push Watt wide and not let him corner there. And Hurts obviously has to step up though, so Watt still disrupts the integrity of the play. So can't finish because Johnson's able to recover. Great tackles, even when they're initially beaten, will often make it really hard for the edge defender to finish. If people watch the Baker Mayfield video that I showed, I did yesterday on the Bucks. Not the name. I don't know if anybody tuned in here watched that, but if they watch that video, you'll see a rep where Tristan Wirfs does the same thing to Joey Bosa. He pushes him wide, and that's what Lane Johnson does here. He's like, okay, you beat me, but I'm not going to let you get the sack. I'm not going to let you finish. And obviously, they eventually chase Hurts down, and everybody gets him. So great job by Watt blowing up the integrity of the play. Typically, when you're cornering at 9-ish, 10 yards, you're still as an edge rusher. That's a little bit deep, and maybe the quarterback's a little bit deep, but I don't think Hurts is very deep here. I mean, that back foot hits, and maybe that extra stride there puts him at a worse angle with Watt, but Watch out for quarterback depth when you're evaluating, oh, he beat so-and-so. Quarterback depth is a part of it. You ideally want to be 7, 8, 9 yards deep, maybe, no more than that. And sometimes Hurts will get too deep and take a little bit extra time, a little bit extra movement in the pocket. So it makes him a little bit harder to block for, especially when you're going up against an edge rushing guy like Watt. Quarterbacks that sit more shallow in the pocket often have more success. So good win by Watt. I think Johnson recovered pretty well there, but all in all, definitely not a super big negative for him and a really good play by Watt. Here's the same play from the end zone angle, and I'll show you Watt's actual pass rush move. I'll let it run. So again, you're going to see pretty similar process. Doesn't snatch the outside arm with this one, and that's probably one of the biggest differences. He's getting upfield. And again, okay, little head move here, and then you're going to see the outs. He's bouncing to the outside, and there's the near chop again, and he's going to try and snatch this arm. Doesn't really need to because he knocks the arm down. Or Johnson actually kind of pulls it back, honestly, and then is able to get enough of him to push him wide. So that arm's not really there to snatch and pull himself through, so the angle's a little bit wider, but he's still able to get all around him. And you can see Johnson still has his hand on him here. This is good finishing of the rep by Johnson, even though you're not in an ideal spot. A lot of offensive line play around the league. If you're looking at top guys, can they win and still get a good enough result on a play, even on a rep that they've quote-unquote lost? I think that's a really important element to look at. So here you've got a red zone situation. This is play action, quick throw, and a glance route to A.J. Brown. So this ball is going to come out super quick. So Lane Johnson oversets here so that Watt doesn't just scream upfield and getting clean, thinking if he just has to make him change direction and gets a piece of him, then it's enough on this play. So it doesn't look pretty. I understand what Johnson's philosophy is. Good job by Watt crossing his face. But the ball just comes out too fast for him to really do anything. Johnson almost holds there. I think he gets his hand off well enough. I like these not being called holds. I only like it when it's prolonged or really changes the path of the defender. And I think here it just slow him up a little bit. Okay, then you let go. And I think to me, those are penalties. I just want to see less penalties in the game in general. So these are the ones I'm totally okay with letting go. Watt sometimes gets tackled, and those are the ones I'd really love to see called. But yeah, cross the face, okay, and there's back there to slow him down, and that's the objective here. So some people, Lane Johnson overset, probably true, but in the objective of the play, like he understands what they're trying to accomplish, and he knows if I just keep him from screaming off the edge free, like this is going to be, we're going to be okay on this play. Just make him change direction, hold him up a little bit. I got the back inside, and Hurts just needs a second to be able to make this throw. Okay, next rep, you're going to see Watt off the edge again, near chop effort, turns into a bull rush here. So this is where Watt is kind of varying it up. Johnson has adjusted a little bit to the near chop attempt, right? Watch him pull the hand back. Doesn't even fall all the way through on it. Pull the hand back in, transition it to a long arm. Because what this is going to do, when Johnson thinks he's getting chopped, watch his hands. Hands go down, right? I'm going to get chopped. Then he tries to punch, but Watt's able to get into his frame first, and Watt's able to win first contact. So one of the things rushers will do is they will try and draw out your punch. Okay, I'm going to near chop. Okay, now the timing's off on his punch. Normally he'd be punching there. Now he's going to pull the hands back down to avoid that cross chop or the near chop because he doesn't want to get his arms hit down like he did earlier in the game. Now he's going to try and fire, and Lane does a quick job, but you can see his hands are coming up wider now. Watt's in inside position, and Watt's able to long arm and drive him back. This is the only power rush that worked for Watt, but he had to set it up with the near chop move. And so he lost a couple times in the near chop after he won early, but then he adjusted and he hits him with the long arm. And you can see even this hand fight, this outside hand fight, he wants to grab and pull himself through and pull Lane Johnson off balance. Johnson's fighting him here to try and keep that hand from landing. And it's just like an epic battle. Like he gets knocked back into Hurts, but he does a good enough job to give Hurts the time to get the ball away. And everybody was wide open all game. So this was a tough game for a pass rusher, but you can see the process with him being really good, and watch the low pad level too, and the ability to corner. Look, hips are flipped to the pocket. Yeah, and Watt's not even a power guy, but you just set it up beautifully with that kind of a move. You don't see him go long arm that often, and it caught Lane kind of off guard there, I think. And so the adjustment battle throughout the game between the two of them was really good. So the unbelievable rep by Lane Johnson here. Watt comes off the ball inside. He looks like he's going to go bull rush, right? He's like head up with them, basically. Bounces back outside with that near chop. He did this earlier. Feet, and then he goes near chop again, right? What we just talked about, near chop. Watch him pull the hand down. He's going to go power rush again. He's trying to do him with the same move. Johnson is in his pads, though. Look how Johnson's hand placement is different and better. Inside, doesn't get knocked back. He drops his hips. He's anticipating that move becoming power at this point. So near chop tries to go bull rush, knocks him back for a second. Then Lane Johnson's able to get leverage. Look at his helmet lower, right? He gets leverage and he's able to drive him up and actually finish him. He actually throws him on the ground there and drive him out. That is just unbelievable. I mean, wow, that's a sophisticated rush. Watt tries to go swim here or push pull with what he has, but Johnson's just too ready for it. That core strength, even as he gets pulled forward here, he's not going to lose his balance. He's not going to fall off the block. That core strength to stay on and then keep driving him up the arc. I mean, just an unbelievable rush combination by Watt. Near chop fake into a power rush, tried to push pull into a swim, and Johnson's able to fend it all off and finish the rep. Probably one of the most high-end reps from both guys in the entire game. Okay, goal line situation. Watt is able to kind of go flash power here, which Lane has been prepared for all game, has handled well. Flash bull rush here, and then he's able to just slip by on the outside. It's one of the things that Watt is best at. This is probably his go-to move. He hasn't gone to it a ton in this game, but power and just slip by because he can corner so well and he gets his feet angled, especially when he gets his feet angled. And I think Watt rushing closer to the line of scrimmage or closer to the line was a big deal in this game. Sometimes he's out here, as we saw in the one rep I showed earlier, but him being able to be here and still get flipped to the angle to the pocket, I think allowed him to be a little more impactful. But here you can see flash power and then this transition to the rip move and just his dip. I mean, this is his go-to. Drop the pads and corner and run through contact at the top of the arc again. Ball's out immediately. I don't know how Minka didn't touch that. I don't know how it was even completed, but good throw by Hurts. And you can just see Watt, being able to get underneath that punch. The pad level's huge here. Power and then transition right away into that rip. And then even as he's clearing, he's like, I can just wriggle through here, basically. Drops his arm so he can't grab anything and is able to beat him around the edge. So kind of he put Watt on the ground. Watt puts him on the ground by not getting him off balance on that rush, and just a great stuff by him. Here's Watt taking off, dealing with a chip. And this is the one where he sacks Hurts, where I have no idea how Hurts held onto this football. But this is the one where he sacked Hurts. A lot of people are like, wow, he's really giving Lane Johnson the business. This is one where I would harken you back to quarterback depth in the pocket. The ball is at the we can't tell what yard line is, but either way, it's going to be Hurts is going to be about 11, 12 yards deep on this play when he gets sacked, and maybe more. So he's just way back there, and good, not even a bad rush by Johnson. Great rush by Watt. I mean, not even a bad job by Johnson, but he can't know Hurts is going to run backwards here. I mean, he runs backwards several yards from where he's in the pocket. This is fine by Johnson. He's in a good spot. Watt is up here. Hurts is down here. So Johnson does nothing wrong on this rep, in my opinion. He is just, you're going to see the set, more of a vertical set because he knows he has time to get back vertically because of this chip. Here, he's not flying out to Watt. So because of the vertical set, he's able to get deeper. By the time Watt gets there, he's trying to go again with the flash, the bull rush into this rip move, but it's just too hard with the chip. And this is one of the reasons why the chip helps, is because it allows tackles to build their house. And once they're out here and they've kind of built their house, a lot harder to corner on them. And Watt's the best ever at doing it, probably, even after they've gotten out there after the chip. But it's just really difficult to get that edge once they've already gotten depth in their pass set. And so he's able to finally get around him, but he's so deep, this should be a win for Johnson. But then Hurts just runs backward, and Watt's able to eventually finish the rep. So I think it's a good rush by Watt, considering he got chipped and pushed wide, and he really had that track to win on. He could cross face here, but by the time he does, there's a decent chance he'd lose contain on Hurts. And so he decides to try and wrap around and keep contain. And obviously the targeting of the football is the high-end stuff from Watt. No idea how Hurts held it, but a good play that he did. Okay, I think this is the last one. Just another reference to, I think, the power rush effort from Watt. And then he tries to transition to an inside move, and Lane just completely shuts that down. I just wanted to be fair to Lane and show another power rush. Watt tried this a bunch. I didn't cut all the reps. But whenever he tried a power rush, Lane just pretty much shut it down. So bull rush, Watt tries to slip off this block to the inside, and watch Lane's inside hand. Because Watt has leverage here. Lane's hand is kind of outside and not really landing. Watch him be able to grab and hold there and just be able to drive Watt. I mean, that is just, again, core strength. See, he's straight up like that. So core strength not to fall off this block when Watt tries to transition inside, and then he's got that hand placement and just drives him. And so, just ability to reposition. Watt's going to put you in some funky spots. I mean, this knockback here, and he losing the leverage battle. And then the ability to reposition, drop anchor, and still be firm. Like, just most guys would have just lost that rep, and he would have gotten through. But just another reason why he's one of the best. You can see Watt kind of get this hand, like he's trying to swim over him, and he lifts his arm, and he just can't. Like Johnson's like under his pads, lifting him up, and now Johnson has the leverage win when Watt had it early in the rep. So just, again, highest end stuff from two of the best players I've ever watched at their positions. And it's a lot of technical battling, handwork. Neither of these guys are like, I mean, Lane is a great athlete, Watt is a great athlete, but neither of these guys would be considered the freakiest of freaks at their position ever when you look at the Trent Williamses and the Tyron Smiths and the Myles Garretts and some of those types of players. Both these guys are certainly more than adequate in those regards. Both are really good athletes, but when you just talk about freak stuff with those guys, they do stuff that other people can't do. This is real technical. Okay, you're going to parry that rush. Here's my rush combination that counters that, and now you're going to adjust in this way. Okay, I'm going to try and get you this way, and I would just love to sit down with both of them and hear their thoughts on this matchup because it was so high end from a technical perspective. So, again, hope you enjoyed these. This one's going to be free. Everybody can check it out. If you like this kind of a breakdown, I'll be doing these hopefully as regularly as I possibly can and putting them out. So if you like that or any of the other stuff that I do, please feel free to subscribe. Gift somebody a subscription for Christmas. That's another really good idea. But you can do that over at Audibles and Analytics. You can just Google that, or I'll put the link to the website in the description for this YouTube video. So you can click on it there and you can subscribe pretty easily. As always, appreciate the heck out of y'all. Thanks so much for watching a little Steelers breakdown on the Audibles and Analytics YouTube page.